rocking out to classical music. Sorry, I'll have to turn this off so you guys can hear me. Can you hear that? What's up, dude? Johan. Alexa, stop. All right, sorry. I was rocking out to my classical music, man. I was busting ass all morning. I got so much shit done, it's unbelievable. What is up, people? It is the #1 podcast. I'm your host. Yeah, I got my trippy sign. Well, should I do some of that? Want some of that right there? How do you like that? What's up, Johan? What's up, Seth Nocturnal? How about that? You want a stroke? You want to have a seizure? Here we go. #1 podcast. I am your host, Coach Jake. Going through all the different settings. Ooh, yeah, that one's crazy, huh? Nah, we'll go back to normal. Hey, what's up, people? So, hope you guys are doing good today. I'm going to keep it quick. I have got so much crap going. Obviously, I've got scientific wrestling going. You guys probably know me from that. If you don't know me from that, maybe you know me from creating the modern steel mace fitness movement. What's up, Seth? Yeah, you like that strobe, dude? That was crazy, huh? I got a remote for it, man. So look, I can let's see, what else can we do? Ooh, we got that one. I don't know. Whoa, that one's like nuclear war, man. All right, anyway. Hope you guys are good. I'll just put it on normal. Yeah, I've been hustling my ass off. Scientific wrestling, let you know what's going on. We've got 5 dates. We're going to Pinion Hills. We're going to Phoenix. We're going to Denver. We're going to Charlotte. We're going to San Diego. Sign up. We will be back in Orlando. We're figuring things out right now. We've got a great guy who's in the coaching program. We're going to go out there, Coach Brian. So that's going to be awesome, but you're going to have to wait for the dates to be announced. On the mace front, of course, I am still pushing my friend's mace. You can go to macebell.com. Check it out. As always, you guys can always hit me up in the chat if you want to say something. Have you ever swung a mace? I don't know. Have you tried it? It's crazy, man. I was the first guy, dude, to swing an actual mace of steel, made of steel. So, macebell.com. You can go over there. My pal Greg over at Wolf Brigade, he's got Greg Walsh. He's making those. I also am really digging the Addicts maces. My homeboy Don over there at Addicts, great maces. We're going to be doing the certification here pretty soon. So, hey, what's up, Coach? We got Vicious Vern Earwood, the first American affiliate for the Scientific Wrestler Affiliate Fight Gym program. Super stoked. Seth says he's got a 25 kg at home. Oh shit, dude. That's impressive, dude. Yeah, like the Sheik, huh? So, dude, 25 kilograms ain't no joke, man. If you don't know what that is, man, that's 2.2 pounds conversion, right? So, man, that's some intensity, dude. So I wanted today to touch on the boomers, okay? Because I'm always talking about business. Ooh, look at that one. I got to shave that bad boy right there. You know what's weird? You got white hairs. I'm old enough to get white hairs. Those white hairs do not shave the same. Man, they're tougher than hell. Look at that goddamn guy, man. He's sticking out. You guys can't see it, but Instagram can see it. It's like right here. It's right in the light. You guys can focus on that. So you can't swing it. That's a huge mace, dude. Like, I personally, I prefer a 10 kilo. I think that's the perfect weight, unless you're female, and then maybe a 5 or 7. But man, that's a lot of weight, bro. That's going to be difficult. Don't hurt yourself. So I'm going to be doing the mace certification. We still are looking for a location. It's going to be me and Rick Brown. That will be to be determined, hopefully soon. I want to get it. Seth says, still can't swing it, but I'm slowly getting to the full rotation. That's a lot of weight, bro. It's 7. You have a 7 for practice. Okay, yeah, that's you're going to have to build up to that 25, man. That's insane. So, hey, by the way, if you guys ever want to host a mace seminar or you want to host a scientific wrestling seminar or training camp, DM me, let me know. I'm always open to it. We have a couple rules. It's it's got to pay for, it ain't free. So just get that through your head right away. But it is a money making opportunity for both you and I. And I've set it up that way. So you can just DM me if you're interested about that. Scientific Wrestler Affiliate Program, super duper stoked. I got some big stuff coming down the pipe on that. I am really excited. I've been working on that all morning, getting basically a lot of the back end side of things finally set up. We really have one spot left and it's $2,000 off, dude. Just telling you, that's going to be $8,000 instead of $10,000. Great investment, super duper investment. You can check it out, scientificwrestler.com. I'll put that up on the screen here for YouTube, TikTok. Well, I guess I'm not streaming to TikTok yet. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter. Man, where else? I have no idea where else I'm streaming, but I try to be ubiquitous, omnipresent, as Grant Cardone would say, but there's already a word out there called ubiquitous. So yeah, the affiliate program is just rocking, super stoked. Mace Bell, rocking, super stoked. Shoot Pro Wrestling, looking for some sponsors. Got some killer athletes in the pipe. I'm trying to do this show for free. I'm not going to do it on pay-per-view. I did the last two on pay-per-view. The first one I did for free. I did the last two for pay-per-view. I would like to move to a free model. Okay. So that, I need your help. Any sponsors, send them over to the shootprowrestling.com page. There's all the details that they need. They can understand it. There's a form for people to contact me. What else? So I want to talk about the baby boomers, right? Like, do you feel that there is a war between the generations, like a real conflict between the baby boomers and maybe Gen Z and the millennials? I'm a Gen X person, so I'm kind of out of the fray. But I always hear these millennials and boomers just going back and forth, which I don't really enjoy it, to be honest, but I do see it for sure. Hey, what's up? Yay, it's JP. What's up, Coach Keo? 86 syntax error. Juan, Flint, Paul, chill guy. Happy to see all you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Something interesting. I saw my wife talking about this earlier today. There's a very interesting statistic, and I think it bears contemplation. And what does it mean? What does it mean for you? What does it mean in terms of if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business person? What does it mean? Okay, so this is the statistic. You ready? Here's the statistic. There are 5 times as many people turning 65 as there are people turning 20. There's 5 times the number of people turning 65 than there are that are turning 20 years old. 5 times. What does that mean? What's the implication? There's a crap ton of baby boomers, 5 times as many boomers as there are Gen Z people to replace them. You can kind of look at Japan and see what that's like, because they've been going through that same deal. I've always said Japan's about, their economy is like 20 years ahead of ours. The suffering that they're going through with their economy, we're just right behind them, almost with the same problems. Okay. Deflation. Yeah, I said deflation, not inflation. Because most people don't know they know how to measure inflation, but they don't know how to measure deflation. And so even though there could be a lot of inflation, what if there's even more deflation? Do you know? I do. I wrote a whole book, Endonomics. Go get it, Amazon. I wrote it like 12 years ago or 11 years ago. It's been pretty spot on. Endonomics, Endonomics. So what does that mean? That there's 5 times as many boomers turning 65 as there are Gen Z turning 20. So that, there's a couple things, right? you know, we face a number of risks in our lives. Okay. I was a professional statistician. I'm trained that way. I think that way. Um, there's a number of significant risks that we face in our lives. Do you know what the number one leading cause of death of Americans is? Now, this number might change because these stats are a couple years old. After all the mass injections, these numbers might be a little different. But the number one leading cause of death of Americans is cardiovascular disease. Number two is cancer. Number three, medical error. Now, if you add medical error and you add in adverse drug reactions, which I include all the problems from these injections, I have a feeling that's probably going to be vying for the number one spot here pretty soon. Okay. So what does that say? Okay. So the number one leading causes of death are all, I'm not talking about the causes. Now, I want to think about like the impact on the economy. All of those have to do with the medical system. Okay. And there's 5 times as many 65-year-olds as there are 20-year-olds. That tells me that the money is in the old people. And they've got all the money, right? Because they're old. They've got all the assets. So if you are thinking of becoming an entrepreneur or you are an entrepreneur, you might want to consider those kind of demographic data, right? Might want to think about selling to people in the medical profession, selling to older folks, because that's where a lot of the money is going to go here, and it has been going. Okay. A lot of these 65-year-old boomers, by the way, 5 times as many boomers turning 65, 5 times as many than people turning 20 years old. That's crazy. That is crazy. Okay. So that means they're retiring. And they're going to be selling their businesses. Do you know how to value a business? Do you know, like, you could be picking up a cash cow for pennies because maybe they don't know how to value it, but you do. And I'm talking simple stuff: car washes, laundromats, vending machines. I'm not even talking anything complicated. I mean, you can get other companies as well, right? And buy them. Maybe you can buy them on the cheap, soup them up, add a bunch of technology, convenience, things that maybe these boomers weren't able to do. Maybe part of the reason why they want to exit. Hit me up. This is the kind of stuff I do, man. Outside of the wrestling stuff, which I am hammering home on you guys every day. I also have a consultancy, business development consultancy. Number One is actually the name of it. And I'm super stoked because this morning I was working a lot on scientific wrestling stuff, but I was also taking meetings. I'm going to start being a real estate investor. I've got a brilliant setup. I'm so freaking excited. If you are a real estate investor, I'd love to start networking with you. I'd love to start talking to you. Hit me in the DMs. I don't really want to go into what I'm doing publicly yet. I want to get everything set up, but I really closed a bunch of deals today, and I'm very, very excited. Some huge wins. I am so excited. Also, for those of you who know, with my Number One consultancy, I've partnered with Grant Cardone. He's my business partner, right? So I'm an affiliate or a franchisee licensee. It's not really a franchise, actually. It's more of a licensee deal. But I was, have you ever been to Grant Cardone's headquarters down in Aventura, down in Miami? Yes, no. Are you guys out there, man? I'm just chatting into space. Maybe sometimes you can be. I have been. Dude, I had a radio show for 2.5 years, man. I had no idea if anybody was out there until you say something crazy and then they all start calling. But anyway, yeah. So Grant, I've been working with Grant for a couple of years now. One of the greatest things that I've done for myself personally, in business, professionally, I guess, maybe not personally too. I mean, he's a great dude, super smart. Anyway, I guess I was on the morning meeting, if you know anything about Grant Cardone, because I helped a client. He's got a couple kids. He's got 4 kids. One of them is developmentally disabled, and I've been working with him for about 6 months. And he sent me this great testimonial that I shared on just a Zoom meeting with some of my other um, licensees. And he sent me this great testimonial that I doubled his family income through No1 coaching. And it's not a big deal. The guy doesn't make a huge amount of money, but to have 4 kids, one of them disabled, and to double the family income, that is literally life changing. So, man, today has just been win after win after win after win. I'm just like on a roll. I'm just feeling like, if you can't tell, I'm feeling like $1,000,000. So I hope you guys are doing good. And, I want you to think about this boomer thing, because this is deeper. Like, yesterday I was talking, like, okay, I said, I was like, hey, man, I don't got any tinfoil inside my hat. I'm not being conspiratorial, but I do like to speculate about these things, because I do think they can, basically, when you're in investing and in finance and things like that, you are taking a perspective. You are, I don't want to use the word taking a gamble, but you are betting on your particular forecast of how the world works. Mine's been pretty good, right? I mean, have you seen my that crisis portfolio I put together a couple years ago? I think I had like I can't remember exactly. It's well over a 2,000% return. Okay, that's insane. It's huge. Because I think my worldview is tuned in. I've got, I think, a good grasp on some of the geopolitical levers that are being pulled. And the reason I'm talking about the boomers and about this dynamic, and particularly the statistic, which my wife was talking about today, kind of freaks me out. I'll repeat it. There are 5 times as many people in the United States. There's just 5 times as many people in the United States turning 65 as there are turning 20. 5 times the number of people turning 65 than there are turning 20. Now, have you seen Elon Musk? He's like, oh, the world's #1 problem, the biggest risk. I think he even, it's like, it's not even AI now. I don't know. I'd have to ask, or somebody have to find out from him. But it's not, he's like, it's not climate change. It's not nuclear war. It's population collapse. That there aren't enough people to replace the people. Okay. Now, this, I find, is one of those things that does shape people's worldview. And I don't think many people are actually conscious of how they adopted the worldview. Do you believe that the world is overpopulated? Comment, please. I want to hear this. Do you believe that the world is overpopulated? And I'd love to hear your rationale. Why do you believe that? Why do you believe just the sheer number? Because we just passed 8 billion freaking people on the planet. There's a lot of people. But is planet Earth overpopulated with people? Because, again, 5 times the number of people turning 65 than turning 20 in the United States. Right? Elon Musk says the biggest risk is a population collapse. Okay? And I tend to agree with him. But I'm curious, do you think, come on, man, put some money in the game. Hit the comments. Yes or no? Is the world overpopulated? I would love to hear your opinion. Okay? I'm going to just tell you mine. No, it's not overpopulated. In fact, I would recommend everybody go to this website. I'm not affiliated with it. I don't make any money from it. Overpopulation is a myth. I think it's .com, could be .org. Overpopulation is a myth.com. And watch a couple of the videos. They back it with statistics. There was a great economist named Julian Simon, rest in peace. Never got to meet him. I wish I was able to before he passed. Julian Simon, another guy to look up, Julian Simon. And he wrote some books. One of them is The Ultimate Resource. The name is The Ultimate Resource. And what do you think he's alluding to as the ultimate resource? Well, what Julian Simon, and I think Elon Musk have in common, and myself, is this understanding of the importance of more people. Have you noticed with this uptick in population, this concurrent uptick in technological progress? Just saying. That is strongly correlated. Okay? The more people there are, sure, yeah, they're going to consume more and all that. Yeah, obviously. But the more people there are, the more people there are solving problems, and it becomes exponential. This is why I have the entire world's information in my pocket at any time. And then like T-Mobile and Elon are hooking up satellites and shit, dude. Everything's like instantaneous. I get 2 day shipping thanks to Jeff Bezos. Elon's going to get us to another planet. Okay. So I don't believe the world is overpopulated. However, I do believe that many of the people who are in power do believe that the world is overpopulated. And I think that is a very interesting way to judge geopolitical turmoil. Most of it manufactured, a lot of it by these people. I believe there's a push to reduce the population of the planet by those people at the top of the power pyramid, the global elite, as Alex Jones would say. Look, Alex Jones, he might be crazy, okay, but he's actually got a lot of things that are pretty doggone right. And one of the things that I think that he said that is right. I mean, he said things that are wrong. Look at Sandy Hook, man. That guy's paying for that, okay, literally. But I do think he said a lot of things that are right and a lot of things that are very interesting. He has a premise that the world is controlled by, do you know what eugenics is? These like eugenicist, pedophile weirdos. I don't know. It gets crazy, but if you start looking at the world, you're like, nobody's been prosecuted for Epstein. Boy, they know everything about Trump and all these other guys, but and why is Bill Gates, who is a eugenicist, and he's going to Pedophile Island, and Bill Gates, and I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but it all does seem to point in that direction, circumstantially, even though there may not be so much of a smoking gun, but it's kind of hard to miss. It's kind of hard to miss. So I think when you start looking in that direction, it makes sense that there are so many more boomers, 5 times as many people turning 65 as those turning 20. And what's interesting is those that are turning 20, in particular the males, have a radically lower testosterone. Have you seen this as well? This is interesting as well. If you take this premise that they want to reduce the population, and that could cause war, because some people are like, no, I don't want to reduce the population. I don't want to live under China where there's one child rule or anything. And they might have figured out ways through food, like microplastics are supposedly, I think every human being has enough microplastic that's the equivalent basically of a credit card of microplastic. And that's a big reason supposedly why all the testosterone is dropping. I mean, this is all fascinating stuff. I don't pretend here pounding my fist like Alex Jones or any of these guys. I don't know. I'm just saying this is a lot of data that's out there available to anybody that actually looks at data and doesn't look at the fucking news and have these narratives massaged, this propaganda. And you just look at the data. There's some really interesting shit going on, right? So if, in fact, the data is right, which I believe it to be, that there is 5 times as many boomers turning 65 as there are Gen Z turning 20. I'm telling you, you need to start looking towards figuring out how to acquire the businesses of these boomers that are retiring. That would be very, very prudent. Okay. I would also recommend that you start looking into markets that are dealing directly with boomers, in particular the medical industry, if you're trying to make money. Okay. I would not be trying to make money off of Gen Z. big money. One, because they don't have any. Have you noticed how hard it is for millennials to get a house? Maybe you are one, because everything's getting priced crazy. And yet, so while prices may be increasing, wages are not increasing, right? Now, here's the weird thing. Not all prices are increasing. This goes back to the deflation argument, right? So I want you to think about the deflation argument. Now, everybody knows nowadays, especially kind of post Ron Paul's run, with the end the Fed, which I think is a great thing. We should end the Federal Reserve. I do think that having something like a Bitcoin, which is open source, transparent, has a limit on printing, would create a stable currency, and people would have to deal with the booms and busts instead of all this manipulation by government causing problems. So we understand how inflation is created. I teased this at the beginning, but do you know how deflation can be measured? I'm working on this actually. I've emailed a couple economist friends of mine, and I'm trying to get a measure of this. So Taffy Das says it's the plastics, at least partly. Yeah, and then a lot of foods are made with soy and these other things that spike estrogen production and do like a kind of aromatase or whatever they call that, where it hampers the testosterone. So anyway, yeah, I've been working to try to create my own measure that's accurate, basically, right? Because I think an accurate measure needs to be out there for inflation and deflation. I think it's easy to measure inflation. I think Milton Friedman and the monitors were right that inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. It's, i.e., a function of the amount of money being pumped into the economy due to the transactions, if you can call it that. I call it the charity of the Treasury deciding to use you and me, our income taxes, as surety, as payment on interest on the debt given to the Federal Reserve, when they just create the money out of fucking nowhere. That's not even controversial. That's the craziest shit that people accept in this world. The craziest fucking thing. One of the craziest. People accept a lot of crazy shit. That's one of the craziest things that people accept. This relationship that happened in 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act, where the creation of money out of nothing, and we pay our taxes as interest on that debt get traded as treasuries, right? The Treasury issues debt with interest payments, right? And the Federal Reserve gives them cash that they just made up out of fucking nowhere. Literally. It's crazy. So I think a lot of people understand inflation that way. So you understand that the money's being printed. And then we also have kind of it's a way of really pouring gasoline on the fire. And that's also this fractional reserve banking system. I can't remember the exact reserve requirement, but it's something like 1/10. So if I take $100 and go to Wells Fargo and slap it down, and I'm like, here, man, here's my $100, put it in the bank. On my ledger, it says $100. You have $100. But then they go out and they loan out 90 of it. They only have to retain 1/10 or whatever that reserve requirement is. I'm not sure. It might be, I think it was 1/10 at one time. They might have changed it. It could be the same. Back when I was in grad school, I think it was 1/10. Anyway, they line out. Now they can loan out $90. And guess what? Now somebody takes the $90. Thanks for the loan. They put it back in the bank, and the bank can loan out $80. And on and on. And now you've got a lot of money flooding the system. And this is why people worry about what, if you Google bank runs, when everybody is like freaked out, like, you guys are loaning too much money, the system's not stable, and they go like pull their money out, but the banks don't got it. They only got 1/10 of it. Why do you think you can't take out more than $10,000? You really think it's because of money laundering? Your little old grandma, they're worried about that? Or is it because they're like, no, you can only take out 10,000? It's because we're worried about drugs. Yeah, bullshit. Anyway, so a lot of people understand this idea. I know this is boring shit, but bear with me. A lot of people understand this idea of how money is created, okay? How inflation is created. But how is deflation created? Why is there even a thing called deflation? How does a currency deflate? Well, if inflation is everywhere and always a monetary phenomenon, I don't know if this has been said, but I'm going to say it. Deflation is everywhere and always a default phenomenon. If you bankrupt, let's say you go to the bank and you take out $100 and let's make it 1,000,000 or 100,000, whatever, to make it more realistic, but keep the math simple. You take out $100,000 and you can't repay it. Like you bought an RV or bought a house or some shit and you can't repay it. They just write that debt off. They just erase the money. It's gone. So that's the method by which money is actually pulled out of the system, is through debt defaults. Now, there was an economist who really pointed this out, Irving Fisher. Okay. Now, he was wrong about a lot of things. Okay. But I think he was really onto something with this idea of debt deflation. You can Google this, debt deflation. So what I am seeking with these economists, the measure would net the amount printed, M1 is what it's called. The Federal Reserve calls it M1, all the money in existence in circulation. And then net that against all defaults and bankruptcies. Personal, corporate, municipal, federal, state, all of it. Anything that's ever written off, netting those. I would also suggest derivative liabilities. Now, this is really where I think the rubber hits the road. The amount of derivative liabilities on the planet are massive, absolutely massive. Okay. I believe that's why, despite the enormous amount of printing, we have not seen crazy inflation. Now, we have seen prices go up, but these are also prices that have been affected by the supply chain. Remember, prices can also increase, not because you throw more money, but honestly, this is Econ 101. If you have a supply and demand curve, ceteris paribus, all of the things staying the same, if I reduce the supply but maintain the demand, the price goes up. That's another way. So with supplies, the supply chain being limited and the demand being fixed or growing for certain things, cars, houses, things, the prices go up. Do you see how people could get confused? And then it's even further confusing because they use a measure called the CPI, Consumer Price Index, to measure inflation, which is merely a basket of goods. It's arbitrary what they pick. And a lot of the things that they pick are things that have been affected by the supply chain issues. So I don't think it's an accurate measure of inflation versus deflation. Does this make sense? Now, one thing I would like you to pay attention to here is, remember, the Federal Reserve banking system, which is then like a mini, like there's those central banks sent around the world, and then they all feed into the international banking, the international bank for, what is it? The IBIS, something Bank of International Settlements, something like that. International Bank of anyway, IBIS. I can't remember the acronym off the top of my head. But that's like the central bank of the central banks. Does that make sense? So they've rigged the system. Honestly, they print money out of nowhere. They're just like, well, we'll give you money. You give us debt, which is really what you're paying in your tax. You can Google this. Your income tax goes to pay the national debt down. That's where it goes. Okay. So I have all these stats in my Endonomics book from a decade ago. You can go ENDONOMICS, Endonomics on Amazon. Go find it. Anyway, you don't think that they've figured out? Listen, let's just commonsensically, like, think about the system and how it works and some of the things I'm saying here. Okay, so now let's say that I take out a loan for $100. And right now, that $100 will buy me about 3 days worth of groceries. Okay, for a family. That might be crazy, but I'm just saying. Well, if I take out that loan, I'm like, here, give me $100. And it's worth this basket of goods. And there's inflation, true inflation, where the value of each dollar becomes worth less. So that in a year, say, that same $100 will only buy one person's worth of food, a little bit. Well, guess what? If I take out a loan in the past when the dollar was stronger and pay it back with cheaper dollars, that's great, right? Like I buy a house for $100,000, and due to inflation in 10 years, $100,000 was a lot of money, let's say in 1980. Okay. Let's say 19. I think my dad bought a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in the early mid 80s, and it was like $120,000. That same house is worth $500,000. Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I could repay back with money that's about a fourth of the value. The banks aren't into that. Now, if deflation happens, every dollar becomes worth more. If I take out $100, when I pay that back and the dollar's worth more due to deflation, I'm actually going to have to pay back 2 or 3 times as much. I don't even know if this is registering with you guys. This gets all very confusing. Anyway, okay, so let's get back to the boomers. So what I'm trying to have you understand here is that there's an undeniable fact, okay, that there are at least 5 times as many old people as there are people 20 or under. And you need to start thinking, if you are a hustler, about how you can benefit from that. Now, I'm not saying zero-sum games or negative-sum games. I'm saying win-wins. These old people, like I've said earlier, are probably retiring or getting near retirement. And they may be exiting very well-built, lucrative businesses, but wanting to retire. There's a real opportunity for you to acquire a great business from a boomer if you're younger. You need to keep your mind to that. Or if you don't want to do that, you should be thinking about potential careers or business opportunities serving 65 years and older Americans, because that's where the money is going to be at. Not just because they're old and they've had a lifetime of acquiring wealth. That's one. That's just, no matter what the population demographic, older people tend to be wealthier because they've had more time to accumulate wealth, to leverage compound interest, things of that nature. But you add that times a 5x multiplier, now we're talking drastic amounts of wealth differentials here. I'm telling you this not to be upset or to fuel any kind of stupid, fruitless, ridiculous generational feud between millennials or Gen Z and boomers. I'm trying to tell you this in a way that you can create a mutually beneficial relationship. I hope that makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, I know this went real deep. Normally I talk about wrestling or some sort of personal development thing. But, I've got a master's degree in financial math. I got to talk about this stuff sometimes. And I do think it's important for those of you that can understand or care about what I'm sharing. I do think it's important. So if I could be of service to you guys, I'm going to cut out of here. I do have so much stuff to do still. It's crazy. But if I could be of service to you guys, you can DM me. You can message me. You could go to scientificwrestling.com, find the way to contact me. Go to No1 Coaching. There's forms you could fill out. I will book 15 minutes of time with any of you guys. I've had a couple of you guys book the things, and then I call you up and you're not even there. So that is your deal, but you get one shot. You get one shot. That's it. When you sign up, it says my time is valuable. Be there, because I get paid a lot of money by hour, and I'm going to give you a quarter of my hour for free, at least for the time being. I don't know how long that's going to go on. So be sure to make sure you check first, because these videos get archived and you could be reading this 5 years from now. And I'll be like, dude, I don't do that anymore. But I am right now, because I do want to help people. I do believe, whether it's intentional or unintentional, I do believe there's a war against small business going on. I think it was initially launched. Well, I think it was initially launched with the income tax, but I mean, I do think that they really stepped things up. I think they dropped a nuke with the lockdowns, destroyed so many livelihoods, and now with this new Inflation Act that passed, that was really covered to hire 85,000 armed IRS agents. I don't think it's I don't even think it's controversial at this point. There's definitely a war on for small business, right? Those that were deemed non-essential. Well, I can guarantee you every one of those small businesses was essential to somebody, to some family. So I have doubled down my effort to try to help you guys generate and make as much money and protect your money and make sure you're safe. Okay. One of the things that I have access to, that I think is great. I had it 20 years. I still have it before I ever even thought to sell it. Like, which is crazy. I should have probably, because I clearly believe in it. You guys need to be looking into prepaid legal. It's basically legal insurance. Myself, I have like 200 hours, because I've had it for so long, something crazy, 200 hours of trial time banked. So if any of this kind of stuff or whatever, I mean, shit, I'm just waiting to sue somebody, man. Not just kidding. But I haven't used it because I don't do that. But, you know, it's great insurance to have, especially with some of this stuff that seems to be coming down the pike. All right. So recommendations for you guys, go check out my book, Endonomics. I think it's like $5 or might even be free on Kindle. It's a little wonky. So there, you know, you might need some caffeine to get through it, but it's pretty short. If you do understand basic economics, there's no real mathematical operations or formulas or anything like that. Mostly just some statistics and logic and reasoning. And I draw some interesting conclusions that I think might benefit you. And I wrote this 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. Anyway, I appreciate you guys as ever. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. All right. Have a great day, man. I'm just banking these wins right now. I'm just on a roll. So I'm actually excited to jump off and see what I got cooking next. So you guys have a fantastic day. And if I can help you, I will.